YouTube, what's good YouTube? So I'm back with another video, and in today's video, as you can tell from the title, I'm gonna do a breakdown of one of our latest real estate deals that we just did. This one was not a fix and flip. Before we get into that, I'm actually sitting in one of our active fix and flips. So we've been doing quite a bit this past year. This is our 6th active flip. When I say us, both my brother and I, we fix and flip properties together. So if you're not tapped into that, make sure you follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and see some of the work that we're doing. In today's video, I'm gonna break down a Novation deal. So if you don't know what a Novation is, honestly, it's an extension to wholesale real estate, where essentially you're middlemaning the real estate deal. You're finding a motivated seller who wants to sell their house, and you're connecting it with a buyer. Except typically with wholesale, you're finding an off-market buyer. The entire thing is off-market. With Novations, you're actually finding a retail buyer. So you're gonna find someone who can qualify for an FHA loan, a conventional VA type of loan, or it may just happen to be a cash buyer who buys the deal, right? So, which was actually the case for us in this instance. This deal was like the perfect Novation, right? So it actually came in through a text blast. We've been doing a lot of SMS text blasts lately. We're using software called Smarter Contact, and we loaded it up with leads, high equity leads that we got from PropStream, put them in a Smarter Contact, and we had the blast going. I started working the blast, and crazy thing is that it was actually pulled up. I had everything here for you guys. I guess the service is tripping right now, but essentially I reach out to the seller. Hey, we leave them the type of message that we send out. We typically say something to the tune of, hey, it's Franz, or hey, whatever your name is. I was reaching out to see if you were open to a purchase proposal on the property at 123 Main Street, right? And the reason we say it like that is we found that the delivery rates are much better with SMS when you leave out certain keywords. So the guy responded. He said, hey, I'm looking for $625. If you happen to be a lucky buyer, you'll also have to take over the tenant. And I let him know, hey, good thing we're as is, so that's not an issue. We actually assume the occupants, and we'll make it as pleasant as possible for everybody. So that's what sellers in the past liked about working with us. And keep in mind, guys, this was actually a property in downtown Boca. So if you're in South Florida or you're familiar with the Palm Beach area, Boca Raton is a pretty high net worth city. There's a ton of CEOs there. There's a ton of headquarters for big companies there. I believe Office Depot's headquarters is in Boca. But this was right in downtown Boca, and it was actually right off of the main street that I used to work at. So I was working at a wholesale company, a wholesale firm down in downtown Boca, and I actually let the seller know that, right? So it was a good way to build rapport with him. I let him know I'm real familiar with the area. I used to drive down the street every day for the last 3-4 years when I first got into real estate. And he was a really cool guy. Sarah was living in Nashville. His sister was also on title. She was working a lot with the government at Washington. So they really didn't, want to maintain this property anymore. The tenant was paying under market rent. But as far as the property itself, everything was already renovated within the last 10 years or so. So it wasn't like the property was in immediate disrepair. Roof, kitchen, AC, electrical, everything was in good working order. The kitchen was a bit dated, but it was in great shape. And that property was also a pool in the back, so it had a huge backyard. To make a long story short, it was retail ready. So typically with wholesale off-market deals, you're dealing with properties that need work. It's gonna need value add, right? New roof, new AC. You do some cosmetic repairs. This one needed some light work, but it was ready to hit the open market. So, I made him a cash offer. I'm like, hey, this is where we'd be at. I believe I gave him a 405 cash offer. Hey, I can do 405, close in 30 days. However, we do have a program where we can pay you more, right? It's called our Equity Protection Program. And essentially, I can pay $535. All I need is reasonable access to the property, and it'd be on a 60-day closing timeline, you know, if that's something you're opposed to. After I sent that message, we got on a phone call. He was pretty okay with it. He said let him talk to his sister. You know, that we did a couple of back and forth. I came up $5,000 to 540. Ty ended up, you know, gave them a little bit more on the earnest money deposit, so we tightened the terms down a little bit, and we were able to go under contract on this deal. And guys, this all came through a text blast, so it's actually just pulling up right now. Everything just loaded up, but you guys will see damn near the whole conversation that I'm talking about here with the seller. Came in through an SMS. We were going back and forth on the conditions or certain terms. He really just wanted a lot of reassurance that we were gonna assume the tenants. But he knew everything that was happening, you know, hey, I let him know I'm gonna put it up on the open market for you. So there's full transparency in this, right? There's a big common misconception in our business is that, you know, the sellers don't know what's going on and we're not being transparent, but that's furthest from the truth. The seller was fully aware that we were making money, that we were gonna be finding a buyer for him. And as long as we were making it convenient, hassle-free, we were gonna pay all of his closing costs, we were gonna pay all the realtor commissions, we assumed all of the seller credits and concessions that he would have otherwise paid if he did list it with the real estate agent. I mean, it was a win-win situation, right? So the next step after you get the property under contract, as far as Novation goes, is going ahead and putting it up on the open market. Good thing for me, I have my real estate license, right? So I'm licensed down here in South Florida. I listed it with another real estate agent, Madison. She's a really great real estate agent down here. And she actually did a lot on working with buyers, fielding offers, working with the showings. And we actually got an offer that came in at 560. So we had it under contract for 540. We're at 560. And what you got to calculate when you run your numbers for Novation is that we're actually assuming, like I said, the real estate commissions. So 2.5% of 560 is $14,000. That got cut into our 20K spread. And then you had to account for the closing costs, which was about $8,000. That right there would have made us negative on the deal. So what we were able to do is we were actually able to negotiate with the buyers. We got them to pay our closing costs, which were about $8,000. So, and we were gonna still pay the realtor commissions. So right there was about $6,000. Once we negotiated that with them, we went back with the seller, let him know what was going on. We actually had seller credit. So we gave them $3,000 in seller concessions. After their inspection report, they found some little bit of mold and termites. So we gave them $3,000 in credits. I went back to the seller, got a $10,000 reduction. They were pretty okay with it again because everyone was looking to get this closed, right? We had a closing date. We had the buyer lined up, the tenant was, we were working with the tenant, made it as pleasant as possible for everybody. He gave us the $10,000 reduction, and it was pretty much smooth sailing from there. One final thing actually came up the day before closing. So the buyers flew from California all the way to Florida, and the gate in the backyard actually fell over. So $500 was withheld from our proceeds until we basically got the gate either fixed or proved that it wasn't, we didn't own it. So we actually just ended up getting it fixed. They withdrew the $500 and released it to us. So the total profit on this deal was about $13,000. And it was the perfect novation, right? This, from the start to finish, was about exactly 60 days, right? And that's kind of how you want to do it, right? You want to price these deals aggressively, get as much buyers in here as possible, don't waste time, because at the end of the day, the longer you prolong it, the longer it's going to take for you to get paid and for the seller to get paid, essentially. One important thing I left out, is in the contracts, right? So with the novation, you got a purchase agreement, between you and the seller, as is, paying the closing costs, realtor commissions. And then you actually have a novation indemnification agreement. So this agreement is what allows you to transfer all of your obligations to a third party, on the open market. And then you actually have a third document, which is the attorney in fact. So it gives you just limited authority to go ahead and sign off on listing docs and offers as they're coming in. That way the seller isn't getting bombarded with reviewing agreements, and you can just sign off on them for them, and they just gotta sit back, wait till the title company reaches out and says, hey, Mr. Seller, do you want a bank wire or do you want a check? Right? So just keeping it as simple as possible. So that was about it, y'all. That summarizes the Novation deal. It was great. I learned a lot. There was a lot of things I learned through it that we have to go through as far as negotiations. But, the proof of concept is there. The proof is in the pudding. If you guys want to learn how to get better with pitching these deals, I got an inner circle group that I'm working now. And within this inner circle, we're actually onboarding people to do deals with us. You know what I mean? So if you're newer into the business, you can earn while you learn. I'm providing all the leads, the systems, the training. All you gotta do is put in the time, qualify leads, send it over to your underwriters, AKA me, and we'll make an offer to the seller. If we close on it, you get paid, and we can keep it going. So if that's something that you would be interested in, go ahead and comment deals. We'll reach out to you and hop on a call, see how we can work. Other than that, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, make sure you hit a thumbs up. It just helps with the algorithm, and it motivates me to keep putting videos out there and actual value for you guys. But other than that, if you stay to the end, I truly appreciate you. And make sure you leave a comment. We out.